There is a strange moment that repeats every year. The entire planet, with billions of different people, different beliefs, different lives, collectively decides that now is the time to start over. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but this exact moment. The clock counts down to zero. Cheers erupt. Everything old suddenly seems expired, and no one asks the most important question: why? No biological change happens at midnight. No law of physics says that January 1st is any cleaner than December 31st. Yet we still act as if time itself has just been reset. That is not the truth, that is a story. And in the next 31 parts, we will peel back 31 stories like that beautiful, familiar lies that every year humans willingly choose to believe all over again. Lie hash 1. New Year is a natural beginning. Every year at the exact moment the clock hits 12, the whole world suddenly acts like the universe just slammed a giant reset button. People hug, kiss, laugh, cry, and swear that this year will be different. It sounds sacred, it also sounds extremely dramatic. Here is the truth: the new year is not some natural cosmic beginning. It is more like a buggy software update. The original Roman calendar only had 10 months. Winter did not count. That cold, miserable stretch of time was simply ignored like an ad nobody wants to watch. Later, when farming seasons stopped lining up and taxes became a mess, they rushed to add January and February just to make things look organized. In other words, your so-called fresh start is basically the leftover result of administrative confusion from thousands of years ago. But that is fine. Humans are very good at turning glitches into rituals as long as everyone believes in them at the same time. Lie hash 2. January feels fresh because it actually is. January is marketed like the universe hitting a giant reset button. You open your eyes and boom, new life, new you, new liver, new six-pack. But what is the reality? The weather is as cold as a grocery store freezer. The sun clocks in for half a shift, then calls it a day. And human biology is running on low battery mode. Your body is not fresh, it is in survival mode. And that is when marketing shows up, waving like a snake oil wizard. New planners, new goals, new apps, all promising to turn you into the 2025 Pro Max version of yourself. Meanwhile, your real emotional state is wanting to sleep more and eat cookies. We are told that a new month automatically equals new motivation, so when we do not feel hyped, we assume something is wrong with us. But it is not January that is exhausting you, it is the expectations inflating like a donut and making you carry it through the entire winter. Lie hash 3. New Year resolutions are about self-improvement. The familiar scene every early January is you sitting there seriously like you are signing a peace treaty, writing down resolutions, bullet points, nice pen face full of hope. But if you rewind back to ancient Babylon, people were doing basically the same thing, except they were promising the gods they would pay their debts and behave better or else get punished by the heavens, not gently reminded by Instagram. Back then, it was a sacred oath tied to community responsibility. Today, resolutions turn into social pressure wearing a self-improvement label. You do not go to the gym, your fault. You are not successful, your fault. The whole system stands on the sidelines eating popcorn. Resolutions slowly shift from I have a duty to I am guilty, and you end up being both the judge and the defendant. So no New Year resolutions were not born to inspire you. They mainly exist to remind you to behave, stay disciplined, and please do not ask too many uncomfortable questions. Lie hash 4. Failing to keep resolutions means you are weak. Quitting in the middle of January always comes with a familiar feeling: shame. The slow burning kind, like opening the fridge at midnight and the light turns on and catches you in the act. Modern psychology is very good at personalizing failure. You did not try hard enough, you were not disciplined enough, you did not want it badly enough, so society casually turns failure into a moral flaw. You did not exercise not because you were tired, but because you are a bad person. Compared to ancient people, this is actually kind of funny. Back then, breaking a promise to the gods meant, well, okay, next time because crops failed, wars happened, or it rained. No one sat around calling themselves useless for 3 straight months. Now you fail inside a system designed for you to fail and then get told it is because you are weak. The good news is you are not weak. You are just playing a game where the rules were written with the word lose baked in from the start. A lie hash 5, this year will be different. This year will be different is the most familiar line. Every new year showing up as reliably as fireworks and copy-paste greetings. The human brain absolutely loves this sentence because it is basically refined sugar for emotions. You say it and instantly life feels hopeful, even though nothing has actually changed. The problem is the brain does not distinguish between a promise and a plan, so it releases dopamine immediately and then tells you to take a break. After that, the familiar loop kicks in. Hope gets inflated, reality knocks. Disappointment shows up, and finally, the well practiced self blame routine rolls in. The interesting part is, this sentence survives just fine, even though it is wrong every single year because it does not exist to be correct. It exists to help us tolerate the present a little better, like a snooze button for the mind. This year will be different is not a prediction about the future, it is a way to delay facing reality for a few extra days at the start of the year. Lie hash 6. The New Year's kiss is romantic. Movies teach us that when the clock hits 12, there must be fireworks, swelling music, and a perfect kiss straight out of a perfume commercial. Real life looks different. You are holding a plastic cup standing shoulder to shoulder in a crowd that smells like alcohol and mild despair. Very few people remember that the New Year's kiss comes from an old superstition. The first person you meet or touch is supposed to decide your luck for the whole year. That sounds more like a curse than romance. So the fear of being alone gets covered up with a rushed kiss as if skipping it would make the universe write down single for another 12 months. Social pressure turns New Year's Eve into a surprise relationship exam. You are not kissing because of love. You are kissing because the clock is counting down. Honestly, that is not a kiss of love, that is a kiss of panic wearing a suit and a party hat. Lie hash 7. Champagne is a luxury drink. Champagne today gets lifted up as a symbol of success. Pop the cork, you are rich. Add bubbles, you have won at life. You see it in movies, on award stages, and in the hands of people who look like they have never worried about paying an electricity bill. History, though, is way less classy. Bubbles used to be seen as a dangerous production flaw, enough to make bottles explode and turn wine cellars into crime scenes. Ancient monks tried their best to eliminate this defect, treating it as a professional embarrassment, not an Instagram highlight. Then with one impressive marketing spin, the flaw got renamed a feature, a few extra zeros were added to the price, and luxury was born. It is fascinating how a technical mistake can become the gold standard of luxury just because the story is told well enough. Sometimes value is not in the truth, but in who is telling the story and how confidently they tell it. Lie hash 8. Fireworks exist to celebrate. Fireworks today are packaged as symbols of joy. Bright colors, massive booms, everyone is supposed to say, wow, or it feels wrong, but rewind history and their original purpose was to scare off spirits, drive away evil, and tell invisible things that this was not an easy neighborhood to mess with. The loud noise was not about fun, it was a primal survival response. The louder it is, the safer we are. The human brain hears a boom and immediately thinks we are still here. The problem is modern humans still carry that same brain. The only difference is we wear nicer jeans and film it in slow motion. So every New Year's Eve, we collectively create noise as if darkness is still lurking behind the buildings. We say we are celebrating, but the body understands it very clearly. This is a defensive ritual. Honestly, we are not lighting fireworks to welcome the new year. We are doing it to reassure ourselves that everything is okay, at least for those few bright minutes. Lie hash 9, loud equals fun. New Year's Eve almost always comes with collective noise, music blasting, people yelling countdowns, bottles clinking like silence is illegal. We are taught that the louder it is, the more fun it must be, like joy has a volume knob. But humans are actually very afraid of silence. Silence forces you to hear your own thoughts, and not everyone wants to deal with that. So noise becomes a way to fill the gap, an emotional buffer that covers up uncomfortable questions. Real joy is usually quieter than we expect. It does not need loudspeakers, it does not need an audience, and it does not need proof. Fake joy, on the other hand, is always loud because it is scared of being exposed as empty. So when New Year's Eve explodes with sound, maybe we are not celebrating at all. Maybe we are just avoiding sitting still and asking ourselves how we actually feel. Lie hash 10. Baby New Year is cute. Baby New Year shows up in a white diaper, a tiny hat, and an innocent smile like time itself, just got reset and decided to be friendly. It is hard to feel scared when you are looking at a baby, and that is exactly the point. But behind that cute image stands Father Time with his cane, and further back is Kronos, the god who ate his own children to avoid being replaced. After hearing that, suddenly you do not feel like hanging decorations anymore. Baby New Year is really just a softened version of a stubborn story. The old dies, the new is born, then grows up long enough to disappear too. Humans are not great at facing the passage of time directly, so we decorate it to make it easier to swallow. We put diapers on fear hats on mortality and call it tradition. Because if we admitted that time always wins, the New Year party would get so quiet, no one would know what they are raising a glass to. Lie hash 11. The ball drop is for entertainment. Times Square is treated like the holy land of New Year's Eve, where millions of people stand shivering watching a ball fall so slowly that if it were a YouTube video, it would have been sped up already. But tradition has a superpower. It can turn very ordinary things into historic events. In reality, the origin of the ball comes from the maritime time ball, a purely functional device that helped ships know the exact time. No music, no emotions, just it drops, you get it. When fireworks became too expensive, too dangerous, and too flammable for comfort, humans needed a cheaper ritual that still felt ceremonial. So a technical object got promoted into a global cultural symbol. We are very good at assigning meaning to objects as long as enough people believe at the same time. The truth is, the ball itself is not entertaining at all. What matters is not the object, but the fact that millions of people are looking in the same direction, waiting together and feeling like they belong to the same shared moment. Lie 12. Confetti is just decoration. Confetti falls on New Year's Eve like the sky just switched to craft project mode. Everything sparkles, it is colorful, and everyone looks happy, or at least looks that way on the front camera. But think about it for a second. Confetti is literally shredded paper, not fancy paper, expired paper, old bills, old notes, and wishes that were not strong enough to make it into the new year. We throw them into the air and call it celebration, while symbolically it is a moment where hope gets chopped up and handed out for free to the crowd. Your personal dreams, once they enter a collective festival, lose their name, lose their owner, and become props. The irony is that we say make a wish, and right after that, we cover the entire space with paper scraps. In that sea of people and sea of confetti, your hope is still there, tiny sparkling falling beautifully and disappearing before anyone has the chance to pick it up. Lie 13. We are more rational than ancient people. Modern humans are very proud of their rationality. We have science data, colorful charts, and the feeling that we have evolved. And then Y2K happened. In the late 1990s, the entire world panicked over the idea that computers would not understand the year 2000 and would decide to end civilization. People stocked up on canned food, withdrew cash, and imagined toaster ovens rebelling. Sound familiar? The only difference is that instead of fearing angry gods, we were afraid of code missing a zero. Ancient people had superstitions about eclipses, and we have technological superstitions. A server crash is a bad omen. An algorithm change means destiny has shifted. The truth is, humans have not changed much at all. We are still afraid of what we do not understand. We just change the setting and use more technical language so it feels less embarrassing. In the past, people prayed to the gods. Now we refresh the web page and hope the Wi-Fi is on our side. Lie 14. Time is precise, the New Year countdown clock looks very serious. Numbers move evenly. Seconds line up perfectly like time is an accountant who never makes mistakes, and then something called a leap second shows up and ruins the party. Every now and then science has to secretly stuff an extra second into the clock because the Earth spins a little, inconsistently. Yes, our planet is not punctual. It sounds more like an excuse for being late than a law of the universe, but it is completely real. It turns out time is not an absolute truth, but a collective agreement. We all agree to pretend it is stable so everything does not fall apart. When science has to fix time, that is the moment we realize we do not control it. We are just patching it enough to keep things running. We measure time, slice it up, frame it inside nice clocks, and call it precise. But time does not follow us, it just keeps moving whether we keep up or not. Lie 15. Everyone welcomes the same New Year moment. The familiar image every year is the whole planet counting down together as if Earth has one giant clock hanging in the sky, and everyone looks up at it at the same time. It sounds very united. Then you remember time zones exist. While you are raising a glass, someone else has already woken up and gone to work, and someone else is still debating what to eat tonight. There are even astronauts who celebrate the new year multiple times in a single day because every orbit around Earth means New Year again. It sounds like time cheating, but it is completely valid. This shows that a moment is not absolute at all. It depends on where you stand and which agreement you use. The new year in the end is a flexible concept wrapped in fireworks and wall calendars. We are not really sharing the same moment. We are just agreeing to pretend that we are so it feels a little less lonely inside a flow of time that never waits for anyone. Lie 16. Money superstitions are stupid. Modern people love to mock money superstitions. Eat beans to get rich ridiculous. Eat fish for abundance. Superstitious. Put money in your wallet facing the right direction. Sorry, this is the 21st century, and yet those same people check their bank account 3 times before going to sleep, like the numbers might sneak away if they are not watched. Money is a constant anxiety, the kind that does not need a good reason. It is there when you wake up and still there when you pretend to fall asleep. Because money is hard to control, humans invent rituals. Symbolic foods, lucky wallets, or the phrase, "it is just bad luck at the start of the year." These things do not make you richer, but they give you the feeling that you tried. And that feeling matters a lot. Money superstitions do not exist because people lack rationality. They exist because there is too much uncertainty. When we cannot control cash flow, we control small actions instead. Not to get rich fast, but to panic a little less while waiting for the paycheck to arrive. Lie 17. Food is just food. On New Year's Day, food suddenly gets promoted. It is no longer a meal, it is a survival strategy. You do not eat because you are hungry, you eat because they say it is good for the whole year. Fish for abundance, meat for strength round foods, so life has no sharp corners. No one asks where the science is because the stomach is very busy believing. Food now plays the role of a symbol. If the stomach is full, the future must be fine too. The brain loves this kind of logic because it is cheaper than therapy. So you keep eating even when you are already full, not because of greed, but because hope is not full yet. The stomach stops, but belief does not. Technically, it is just food. Emotionally, it is a ritual with dipping sauce. Humans do not just eat protein, carbs, and sugar. We also eat a sense of control, a little reassurance, and a vague promise that next year will be kinder at least until the next meal. Lie 18. Predicting the future is modern. Modern people love to believe they have left their ancestors far behind, especially while checking horoscopes on sleek apps with minimalist fonts. It feels civilized, but at its core, it is not that different from ancient people pouring hot metal into water, slicing apples, or staring at potatoes to predict fate. The only difference is that today, we use smartphones instead of iron pots. The real need was never to know the future accurately, it was to be less afraid. The future is a terrifying blind spot, and the human brain cannot handle feeling completely unprepared. A prediction, even a wrong one, is still better than emptiness. It gives you the feeling that you did something before stepping into the dark, so humans do not actually need to know what the future will be. We just need the feeling that we asked, we checked, we prepared, whether the answer came from the stars or from an app notification at 8 in the morning. I lie 19. Cleaning on New Year's Day is responsible. Cleaning on the first day of the year sounds very grown up. A fresh start, taking control of life, wiping away the old year along with the dust on the floor. But old folk beliefs warned people not to sweep on New Year's Day, or they might sweep away their good luck. It sounds superstitious until you realize it is a poetic way of talking about fear of loss. Humans do not like the feeling of starting a new year by losing something, even if it is just dust. In modern morality, labor is always tied to value. Rest is lazy, work is right. So we pressure ourselves to be productive even when our eyes are barely open. But survival is not always about action. Sometimes it is about knowing when to stop. Lying still does not make you morally worse, it just helps your nervous system calm down. You might clean the house and make the floor shine, but rest is what actually helps you enter the new year without dragging the exhaustion of the old one along with you. Lie 20. Clean equals a fresh start. Washing your hair and showering on the first day of the year sounds very logical. Clean hair, clean body. Bad luck washed away too. Water flows, the old year flows out with it, right? Folk beliefs even say washing your hair washes away wisdom. Bathing washes away good fortune, as if your brain and your fate could dissolve in shampoo. In reality, the body has long been turned into a container for symbols. Tiredness gets labeled as dirty, Anxiety gets called unclean. We scrub the outside because we do not know what to do with the inside. Behind it all is a very familiar fear, the fear of losing what we have, the fear of stepping into a new year while still carrying the full weight of the old one. Hygiene gives a fast, cheap sense of control and it smells nice, but being clean on the outside does not automatically make the heart feel lighter. Some things do not wash away with water no matter how long you stand under the shower until your skin wrinkles like your thoughts at midnight. Lie 21. Running with a suitcase at midnight is crazy. Seeing people drag suitcases and run around at midnight always looks a little desperate. Like if they slow down for even 1 second, their entire year will get stuck at the bus stop of their own life. But that action is not random at all. Travel has long been associated with freedom. Leaving means escape. Staying means being stuck. And no one is more afraid of being stuck than humans on New Year's Eve. So we use the body to rehearse a different future. No ticket, no plan, just movement. Running with a suitcase is not about going anywhere. It is about sending a signal to the universe. I am ready for change, please do not forget me. It is a physical ritual for an abstract desire, like hitting the refresh button with your legs. We do not truly believe that running a few laps will change our life, but the feeling of movement makes it easier to breathe. And sometimes just believing that you are not standing still is enough for a new beginning. Lie 22. Breaking things means bad luck. Hearing plates shatter around New Year makes a lot of people freeze like misfortune just got uncorked. Broken means ruined, ruined means unlucky. Very clean logic. But in some places, smashing plates is actually a sign that you are loved. The more your friends care about you, the more willing they are to cause trouble in front of your house, proving the relationship is close enough to clean up the consequences together. Here, friendship is not measured by polite wishes, but by how much noise and how many shards you are willing to tolerate. Chaos gets redefined, not as destruction, but as presence. The interesting thing is that the same action-breaking things can be a bad omen or a good blessing, depending on where you stand and who you are with, which just shows that meaning is not inside the action itself. It lives in the context in the relationship and in whether there is someone willing to laugh broom in hand, helping you sweep up the mess. Lie 23. Jumping into the new year is symbolic. At the exact moment of midnight, a lot of people jump out of their seats like the floor just turned into lava. No one really explains why. It is just understood that if you do not jump, you might get stuck between 2 years in some invisible gap. That sounds more like a system error than a concept of time. But humans are deeply afraid of gaps, not the kind under your feet, but mental gaps, the space between the old thing that has expired and the new thing that has not fully started yet. Jumping is the simplest way for the brain to tell itself, okay, we made it across. This is a spontaneous collective action. No one practices, no one knows if they are jumping correctly, but everyone does it because no one wants to be the only person left sitting there with their own thoughts. We call it a fun ritual. But really, it is a mild survival reflex. We are not afraid of the new year. We are afraid of things we cannot see, cannot measure, and that force us to stand still with ourselves for too long. Lie 24. Throwing things away means letting go. At the end of the year, tossing out old stuff is seen as a very grown-up act. Trash bags, full heart, instantly lighter, like you just threw the whole old year into the bin. That relief feels great, but it is like iced coffee. Fast wake up, fast crash. The problem is throwing things away does not mean throwing away memories. The old shirt is gone, but the story attached to it is still sitting in your head drinking tea with no intention of leaving. Humans love strong actions because weak emotions are harder to handle. Throwing, cleaning, deleting. Everything looks decisive, very, I have let go. But really, it is just a way to make sadness quiet for a moment. Real letting go makes no noise. There is no trash bag, no before and after, and no applause. It happens slowly, silently, and usually looks nothing like those inspirational home cleaning videos. Unfortunately, the quiet stuff is what stays the longest. Lie 25. Burning something is just destruction. Burning an effigy of the old year looks extreme at first glance, very much like no talking. Just throw it into the fire. It sounds destructive, like emotions can be handled with matches and gasoline, but fire has never been only about destroying. It is about cleansing. It is one of the oldest psychological tools humans have. Watching something burn helps the brain believe that something has ended even if the memory is still fully backed up. This ritual is not meant to erase the past. It is meant to face it in a safer way. You do not carry the sadness only in your head. You put it outside, give it a shape, and then watch it disappear together with others. It is collective emotional release, the outdoor version of saying it out loud to feel lighter. The irony is that destruction here is not about forgetting. It is about remembering in a way that hurts less. Sometimes burning something is not about losing it, but about keeping what matters without having to carry all the weight with it. Lie 26. Messy means chaos. Throwing water, tossing fruit, smearing food everywhere looks like the aftermath of a party that went way too far, not a New Year ritual. But in many cultures, the messier it gets, the richer you are supposed to become. Wet floors, great. Hands covered in food abundance. The logic is very simple. If there is so much that it spills everywhere, then there must not be any shortage. Order and chaos switch places faster than you can grab a broom. Neatness feels safe, but it also looks a bit like a life lived on strict savings mode. Luck rarely shows up on schedule or in straight lines. It arrives unexpectedly off-beat and usually leaves stains behind. Modern humans love control schedules and spotless homes, but deep down we still believe that a little mess is proof of excess. So we throw pour and smear not because we hate order, but because we want to believe the new year will be wide enough to handle things spilling over. Lie 27. Silence means peace. Silence on New Year's night often gets sold as a premium state. Bells ring 108 times. No one speaks, everyone looks very enlightened. It sounds pure, but in reality it is pretty tense. In many traditions, stillness is tied to cleansing sin. Like if you sit quietly long enough, bad thoughts will pack their bags and leave. Spoiler, they do not. They get louder. Silence is not comfortable. It is not spa background music. It is the moment you are forced to hear what your mind is saying when nothing is covering the noise. And that is usually not cute. But that discomfort is exactly the important part. When there is no sound left to hide behind, you face yourself without filters. Not pleasant, not light, but real. Peace does not always show up the moment everything goes quiet. Sometimes it arrives only after you sit long enough in the discomfort and realize, oh, I am still okay when I stop running. Lie 28. Animals are just sleeping. There is a very familiar legend. At the exact moment of the new year, livestock can speak. No one has proven it, and no one really tries to listen carefully because the idea is unsettling. We prefer to believe they are just sleeping, chewing grass peacefully with no opinions about humans. But deeper down, this is a story about the boundary between humans and nature. If animals truly spoke, they would probably not say things we want to hear. And humans are always afraid of the truth when it does not come with praise. So we turn knowledge into something forbidden. Do not listen. Do not believe. It is just a story. Not because it is wrong, but because it is inconvenient. Like many other things, we pretend silence is harmless, but sometimes the danger is not in the imagined words of animals. It is in the very real truth that if nature spoke, it might ask a question we are not ready to answer. Lie 29. Letting go is easy. Just let it go is a familiar line, light and casual, as if letting go were a simple wrist movement. It sounds like free advice at a checkout counter. Quick, neat, no emotional receipt required. But if letting go were that easy, humans would not cling to old beliefs like weak Wi-Fi they refuse to turn off. We cling because it is familiar, because we fear emptiness, because at least the old pain tells us where it hurts. The new year does not come with a delete button. The calendar flips a page, but memories do not read wall calendars. They show up without warning right when you think you are fine. And then we blame ourselves. Why have I not let go yet? As if letting go were homework turned in late. The truth is, letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a repeated process. Put it down, pick it up, put it down again until your hands get tired and your heart slowly feels lighter. It is not dramatic, there are no fireworks, but it is real. And real things are rarely easy. Lie 30. The new year is about hope. The new year is always wrapped in one very pretty word: hope. Hope for better, lighter, less exhausting days, and if we are lucky, fewer bills. It sounds like a global emotional marketing campaign. But if you peel the wrapping off, underneath hope is usually fear. Fear that the old year will repeat itself. Fear that you will stay the same. Fear of not improving, not changing, not keeping up with anyone. The new year at its core is a collective reassurance ritual. We count down, raise our glasses, repeat familiar wishes to tell ourselves it is okay. We are still moving forward. Humans do not need hope because life is always bright. We need hope because it helps us get out of bed even when we are not sure what is waiting ahead. Hope is not proof that everything will be fine. It is just a tool that helps us deal with fear without saying its name too loudly. And maybe that is enough to step into the next day. Lie 31. This lie will still exist next year. If you look back at all 31 stories, you might notice something slightly uncomfortable. None of these lies ever really disappear. They just change outfits, switch hashtags, and come back right on schedule like the lunar calendar. Not because humans are stupid, but because these lies are convenient. They help us survive the fog of time without having to think too hard at midnight. The new year, because of that, is not a straight line of evolution. It is a loop of beliefs redecorated every year. We know many things are not true, but we still need them like we need coffee, even though we know our heart is going to shake. So we keep repeating the rituals, the promises, the hope, and the disappointment with an updated version of this year will be different. This is not a moral ending, and it is not an enlightening plot twist. It is just a small question light enough to carry into next year. If we know these lies will come back, will we believe them the same way, or at least smile when we realize we are believing them again?